What's up there, YouTube? It's Gngr here, giving you guys a deck profile for my buddy's Virtual World deck. He took this into an online tournament and took first place. He plays a couple attacks, but for the most part, it's just a pretty standard Virtual World build. Super consistent, really strong. So for the hand traps, we have the 1 driver, 2 Gamma. This is going to protect your Virtual Worlds when they activate initially. Next up, we have the triple Max C. Just really solid cards. Max C lets you draw. 3 Ash Blossom, preventing your opponent from searching. 2 Nian Nian, you don't really need more than 2 because they can, if you feel like you're going to need another one, you can just put it back into the deck when the other one gets banished. So next up we have 3 Lulu. It's the tuner monster that's going to search for any other virtual card that you need. Next up we have GG, lets you recycle your virtual worlds on the end phase. Lao Lao lets you resummon your virtual worlds and is also a level 6 tuner. Kirin Lili lets you send 2 virtual worlds from your deck to your graveyard, which can lead to a lot of plays. 2/2 can be summoned if you control no monsters, or if all monsters you control are psychics and worms, you can summon it without tributing. And if it's in your graveyard, you can discard a psychic or worm and special summon it as a tuner, but banish it when it leaves the field. And then it has the you can only summon level 3 or higher monsters restriction. Next we have Triple Pot of Desires, probably the best draw card for this deck. We have the Virtual World City Kowloon to be able to search for your Qinglong and your Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi lets you negate a monster effect on the field and then also lets you banish itself to add a Virtual World monster. Emergency Teleport can grab any of your level 3 psychics and can also grab Gamma in some instances. Next up we have Double Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave just lets you banish stuff out of your opponent's graveyard and preventing them from activating things under your face. Next we have Virtual World Gate Chuchi, lets you destroy cards on your opponent's side of the field and manipulate levels. We have the Virtual World Gate Zwan Wu, lets you summon back Virtual Worlds by banishing it, and then during the battle phase, if you control another Virtual World Gate card, you can target one face-up monster on the field and change its battle position. This isn't going to come up very often, if at all, but hey, it's there. Next up we have the Invoked Caliga and Muddy Mud Dragon package. So basically what you're going to be doing with this is using the Muddy Mud Dragon as the Alistair, and then using the Ultimaya Zulkin as the Dark Monster, so that you can make Invoked Caliga, which will prevent your opponent from activating one monster effect or attacking with more than one monster. So it really just is like a sort of threshold against a lot of decks. It basically bottlenecks a lot of decks from being able to play. And even if you negate the card because it's attempt to activate, they're still screwed for the rest of the turn. So this and Crystal Wing is usually death for a lot of decks. Next we have the Stardust Charge Warrior. It lets you draw a card and can attack each of your opponent's monsters once each. It's also a level 6, allowing you to manipulate your level 3s and get some extra draws before you make your Ultimaya Zulkin. Next you have Coral Dragon. This is kind of going to do the same thing, only it's a tuner monster, and it lets you discard a card and target a card your opponent controls and destroy it, which comes in handy quite often. Next up we have the Virtual World Juju, which can help you stall if you need to, because it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects while you control 2 or more monsters with the same original type and attribute but different names. In addition to that, you can banish 2 monsters from your graveyard with the same attribute and different names to target a card on the field and send it to the graveyard, which can really help get rid of hindrances that can't be destroyed by card effects. Next we have Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, probably one of the most powerful cards in the extra deck. It can negate monster effects and destroy them. It can swing over your opponent's monsters. It's going to gain the attack of whatever you negate, and then if it ever battles a level 5 or higher monster, it's going to gain attack equal to the current monster attack that it is battling. Next we have Vermilion Dragon Mech. This is just going to be another way for you to out stuff. You can banish a tuner and destroy a card, and then if it's destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished tuners and add it to your hand. Next up we have the Crocosaur. It's going to gain 500 for each card in your hand. It also lets you draw another card. In addition to that, you can discard 2 cards and target a card on the field and destroy it. So a lot of quick spot removal in this deck, which is pretty strong in this format because a lot of decks rely on mid-rangey strategies using 1 or 2 monsters at a time. Next up we have the Virtual World Shen Shen, which is going to banish any cards sent from the field to the graveyard, which is really handy against decks like Eldritch and decks like Tri-Brigade. In addition to that, when it's dead, you can summon it back by banishing 2 monsters with different attributes from each other from your graveyard. And in addition to that, whenever your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can target 1 banished monster in your opponent's. You can return 1 banished monster to the owner's graveyard. So if you have your Nyan Nyan that is banished, you can put the Nyan Nyan back into the graveyard. You can put your 2/2 back. You can put things that you might have banished with Chi back. It's just a pretty solid ability, actually. So, yeah. Next up, we have the Constellar Ptolemy M7. It lets you bounce cards and is also able to return your virtual world monsters in graveyard to your hand. And then you can Xyz summon Zeus if you attack with it, which will give you just another way to control your opponent. Utopia Beyond, when it's Xyz summoned, the attack of all your opponent's monsters becomes 0, and once returned, you can detach material from it, target 1 Xyz monster and 1 Utopia monster in the graveyard. In your graveyard, banish the first target, and if you do, special summon the second target. That effect is probably not going to come up. It will not come up in this version of Virtual World, but being able to make all your opponent's monsters attack 0, and then if you have a way to make your Stars Charge Warrior, you can just swing over all of them, or if you can create a decently large board, go wide enough, and then just swing over their whole board because everything's at 0. Next we have Shen Shen. You get to banish a card on your opponent's side of the field, a face-up card, and 1 card in your opponent's graveyard. And then if it succeeds, summon and destroy by battle with an opponent's attacking monster and an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 2 virtual world monsters with the same type and attribute from each other from your deck. So this is just another way to float. You can be like, oh no, you destroyed this, I'm going to summon out my Lao Lao and my Nyan Nyan from deck, and then follow up with a Vermilion and destroy something, or follow up with a Shen Shen and create a floating nuisance. So yeah, really strong card. Fan is really good. Next we have Calamities. Can't talk enough about this card. It just wins games by itself. You make this turn 1, and pretty much any combo deck is done. Bird Up, done. Sky Striker even has a bit of an issue. Like anything that says I need to activate my monster effect to play Yu-Gi-Oh, that sucks because you don't get to play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. And then we have Zeus. Zeus is going to let you summon himself over an Xyz monster whenever you've attacked with an Xyz monster, and then it'll allow you to send all cards on the field to the graveyard. So yeah, shout out to Lonnie Leatherwood, the Gngr Viking himself. Really good guy. He's been playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh for about 2 years now, and man, he has come a long way. You'd love to watch these new players blossom into a decent, solid player. So yeah, shout out to him for sure. So this was his deck. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments below, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Gngr signing off.